What's up, my fellow gamers? In today's video we got our introduction to the classes in Draconia Saga. So a while back, about a month ago, I actually had them reach out to me. I did a sponsored video already for them where I did my best beginner's guide early, where I went over a bunch of the gameplay and different things that you can kind of expect. I'll have a link to that video down below in the comment section. I highly recommend after you're done this video, you go check that one out because that one was pretty in-depth video that I did covering everything that you can kind of expect. Right now, we are in pre-download, so you can go ahead and you can pre-download the game now. It will be coming out tomorrow for global launch, March 6th. So there's a couple different classes that we have. Now, I was given access to the test server a month ago, so I have played, you know, all these different classes, and I've experienced a lot that the game has to offer. So I just kind of want to give you my thoughts on this and kind of help guide you on which class you should choose based on your play style. First one we got is going to be the Archer class. Now, the Archer is one of the main damage dealers in the game. It's going to be doing physical damage. The thing that the Archer is really good at is the boss battles. So with this type of game, it's like an MMO RPG game, and there's a lot of different pieces of content or gameplay to it, where you're going to be doing solo content, you're going to be doing content where you're teaming up with your guild, you're also going to be partying up with, you know, random other players, or you can, you know, party up with friends or other guild members to do dungeons. So there's a good mix of kind of boss battling, but also kind of like these dungeons where you do need AoE. So you kind of like when building out a party, you're going to kind of need, or what I would recommend is to have at least one class of each type in your party. So whatever class you kind of choose, you know, you should be able to find a group, with the Archer class being the best for boss battles. And there's a decent amount of boss battling going on. So you can really get pretty far solo-wise with the Archer, because there is some solo content, or at least a decent amount of solo content, where it is you doing like boss battles where you can't team up with anyone else, where you are doing it by yourself. So the Archer really comes in handy. So you're going to notice that you can kind of get through that a lot easier. The next one we have is the Wizard. The Wizard's pretty straightforward. This is your typical Wizard that does AoE damage. So when you're doing like grinding and you have tons of monsters that you have to destroy, the Wizard is going to blow through that content. The Wizard is a little bit, I don't want to say harder to deal with the bosses, but like, you know, single player, the Wizard doesn't excel as much as the Archer. So you are going to, like, you know, that's kind of something where I would say you are going to use your dragons and your pets to either build your strengths or to build out your weaknesses, right? So you could have pets that are better for single target damage if you're a wizard and you're weak in single target damage area. So there's a lot of different builds that you can go. So choosing the class doesn't really feel like, it doesn't feel like it's a bad idea to choose one over the other. They all have their own play styles, and there's a lot of RPG elements and mechanics in this game where you can kind of take over whatever your weakness is and make it actually like even or better with the different elements of like the pets and the dragons and stuff that's going on. The Wizard, typical AoE damage dealer, really good for beginners as well. If you're not too familiar with these types of like RPG MMO games, where it's very grindy and stuff, then the Wizard is easy to play because you just put it on auto combat and you really don't have to manually do any of your abilities. It's just going to spam your abilities to do the most damage. Same thing with the Archer, which I forgot to mention. The Archer is also very beginner friendly, where you can run it on auto all the time and you don't really have to pay any attention to it. The Lancer class. Now, the last two is the Lancer and the Dancer, and these two I would say are they're more fun to play because they're a little bit more involved, and they're more, they do more things. They're not so cookie cutter. Like, I feel like the archer and the wizard is very cookie cutter, and it's like, hey, do I want to be a wizard and deal magic damage, or do I want to be an archer and deal physical single target damage? Like, those are the two like basic ideas. But the lancer is really cool because the lancer has very good utility, very good versatility, with the ability to change forms mid-battle. So in the middle of doing a battle, you can kind of go from being a tank to a melee damage dealer. So it's a really, what I would say is, you know, my personal opinion, I would say the lancer is probably the second best class. You know, you could argue and say it's the first best class, but it's, I would say, one of the better classes to play because you can switch so easily to, you know, if you're playing by yourself, go with the melee build. And then when you have, when you're partying up with other live players and you're in a dungeon, you can go that melee build for extra damage, and then when the boss is about to do a big ultimate attack or something, you can switch to that defensive build and then, you know, put a shield on your team or block the damage or whatever it may be. But like the lancer is, you know, harder to play because of that. So you have to be more involved. You can't just kind of, you know, throw it on auto. I mean, you can, but you know, you're going to have more success if you're manually playing the lancer, and it's just more fun in general because you can do a lot of different things. So the lancer class is one that I recommend if you want to be more involved in the game of actually, or I should say like more engaged and not just sololy putting it on auto combat and just watching it play out. And then the last one is the dancer. Now this is what I would say is arguably the best class. The dancer is pretty much like a hybrid between damage dealing and healing. So you can be like a damage dealer when you're doing solo content, and then when you're partying up with other live players to do dungeon runs, you can be a healer, so you can heal your team. So it's a really good class for someone who wants to be engaged. It's a lot harder to play though, because you do have to, at least for the healing wise, time out when to activate your skills. So this isn't a class that I would say you want to play on auto. So if you're someone who likes to play on auto, then I wouldn't recommend the dancer class. But if you're someone who wants to manually play and be engaged, then I would recommend the dancer. So that way you can choose when to activate your healing skills on your team. Because on auto combat, it's just going to cycle through it, and you'll end up healing your team when they're already at full health, you know, and then have to wait for the cooldown, and it's, you know, a complete waste. But the dancer, what I would say is the dancer has such a high ceiling because it's so versatile with being able to be such a good supporting class, and also being able to put out a lot of damage, right? You can even just take a look at the wheel. Support and survivability are its two biggest traits. And it's overall what I would say is the most fun class to play, at least for me. I enjoyed the dancer class the most. And then I enjoyed the lancer the next. And then kind of like the wizard and archer were like the same. The wizard and archer were like the third best classes to play, or at least the third most fun for me. So that's kind of my recommendations for choosing a class. What I'm personally going to do is I'm probably going to have my main account be a dancer. So tomorrow when global launch happens, I'm going to make an account. I'm probably going to be a dancer class. And then I'll have, you know, we'll make dancer guide videos and more videos and so on and so forth. But that is it for right now. I hope you guys and girls enjoyed the video. I will see you tomorrow in Draconia Saga. Stay happy, stay safe. Peace.